Welcome to episode 5 of Flatback 4 Meets. As always, we'll start off by mentioning our official partners, Andy's Man Club, who do some great work across the UK for men struggling with mental health issues. If you want to go check out what they do, visit the website www.andysmanclub.co.uk. I'll move on. I'm very excited to introduce our guest for the evening. Being a Leeds fan myself, it's quite a big thing for me to interview the man we're interviewing tonight. Ex-Norwich, Charlton, Leeds United, Manchester City and England defender, Danny Mills. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, gents.
Evening, Danny.
We'll just start off, Danny, by just having a quick chat about the Super League, if you don't mind, and especially events yesterday. I mean, in my lifetime, I've never seen such a high-profile game, especially in the UK, being postponed for such a big, an event like that. Fans getting onto the pitch before the game. It's crazy.
It's difficult because I can see it from both sides of the argument, if you like. You know, I understand that the fans are incredibly frustrated. Nobody wanted the Super League. You know, it was a disaster. And if you came up with an idea to try and get it as wrong as possible, that's what they did. And it was amazing. You know, I was live on air that night, you know, and then obviously Chelsea dropped out, Man City dropped out. And of course, it all started to fall apart. And it was brilliant that all the fans came together as one. You know, there was no trouble. You know, there were no real issues about it. It was just, you know, we are not going to have this. And it didn't matter whether it was West Ham and Chelsea fans together. You know, Liverpool and Leeds and Manchester United all mixing together, all stood as one, solidarity, and it was brilliant. And it was power of the people. Look what they can do. However, what happened yesterday concerns me a little bit because you're right. It sets a precedent that 50, 100 people can call off one of the biggest games globally, I would say. After El Clasico, Liverpool Man United must be one of the most watched games around the world. We know how big the Premier League is. And for 50, 100 people to get that game called off and postponed is a serious concern. I get their frustrations and I get they're very, very angry at their football club and their owners, but it cannot turn to violence. You know, I think we've seen a police officer could have easily lost an eye during those clashes. That's unacceptable. That cannot happen. And to say these people would turn up for a peaceful protest, I don't believe that in the slightest. You know, when you turn up with scarves around your head, with hoods on, you know, you're there because you want to be anonymous. You want to hide from the cameras so you cannot be identified. If it's peaceful, you turn up like this and you say, look, here I am.
Yeah.
I'm protesting. It's not an issue. This is who I am. I'm here because I'm not happy. It cannot spill into violence. And then to get the game called off, I don't think the police had any choice in the matter. We've seen before in this country that, you know, if fans are into the stadium, who were they? What were they doing? What did they leave behind? Were there any suspect packages left behind? Who knows? How far were these people going to go? You just don't know. And you can never, ever take that risk. I think Manchester United have got to look at themselves. Their security was poor, to say the least. You know, they knew that there was going to be protests. There was not enough stewarding. There was not enough policing. There was not enough security. And they got into the ground far too easily. So that's what I'm saying. I get it that the fans are incredibly frustrated and want to protest against their owners. But what happened yesterday cannot happen. You know, people's lives cannot be put in danger. People's health and safety cannot be put in danger. And that's where it goes too far, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's ways to protest, isn't there? And I don't think breaking into the stadium, like you say, it's not the way forward, is it?
No, and I mean, if they wanted to really protest, this has been going since 2009, 10. You know, when the Glazers, when they first had the yellow and green campaign, you know, at Manchester United, and wanted to be, you know, almost make another football club, as it were, go back to the traditional days. If they were that unhappy, the best way to vote is with your feet, and all the season ticket holders should just not turn up.
Yeah.
But for the last 10 years, they've turned up every single week. You can't, you know, if you're a season ticket holder and you don't go, the stadium's empty. And we know that at Old Trafford, because out of 75,000, I'm guessing 50,000 probably season ticket holders.
Yeah, a lot.
That would be the way to stop the situation and make a real issue. But it's been sold out for the last 10 years. And if the season ticket holders don't go, you can't resell those tickets because it's your season ticket. Nobody can go. So yes, I get they're frustrated, but I think they've gone about it in completely the wrong way. And it's a culmination of the Super League, the Glazers, the owners, what they've tried to do. They've tried to, as Gary Neville said, they tried to murder English football. And I completely agree that they did. Yeah. And they were bang out of order. But Man United fans, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, Rotherham fans, Leeds fans cannot be allowed to behave in that way and get games called off. Because what happens next time someone wants a game called off? You just invade the stadium, and that's it, game off. And that's what I said. That sets a very, very dangerous precedent, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Well, obviously not a route anybody wants to go down, is it? But I just wanted your opinion on it, really, and I think you've covered that well. It's just. Have you been ever in a situation? Obviously, like you just mentioned there, it comes into the players being under threat as well, especially obviously the Liverpool players if they'd have been coming on the coach. Have you ever been in situations like that yourself?
I mean, I've been on buses where missiles have been thrown at buses, and the windows have been cracked. I would say smashed, but it's safety glass, so it just shatters and it stays in one piece.
Yeah.
Obviously, unfortunately, I was in Galatasaray. Obviously, when sadly we'd lost 2 fans the night before, and that was very scary, intimidating. Again, things thrown onto the pitch. Warming up wasn't particularly nice. I've played at the Den at Millwall, and been coined. I played at Cardiff when all sorts were thrown onto the pitch. The referee went off with a split eye for coins. But generally, as a player, you're in a bubble and you feel very, very safe because you're going to be protected. You're going to be looked after. The only issue the players would have is the game on? Is it off? When's it going to happen? When do I start to get ready? When do I start to refocus? Can I eat again now? Is that going to be too soon? So the players would have, it's an annoyance for the product players more than anything else. They had no family in the ground. The ground was empty. So there's no concerns about, are my family involved? Are they in trouble or anything like that? So yeah, it's an inconvenience. I've heard about punishments and what they might be, but what do you do on that? If you punish Manchester United 3 points, they're not going to be in the top 4. I think Manchester United need to look at themselves as a club, their security issues, what happened, talk to the fans, and clearly things need to be put in place so this cannot happen again at any football club.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So
we're sorry, go on.
No,
carry on.
No, I'm just going to say, so, well, as I say, I think we've covered that. So moving on to yourself, Danny. Started out in the academy at Norwich City. Who was the first manager who played you there?
So John Dean was signed me as a professional.
Right.
I was in the squad when I was 17 years old. Made it into the squad. Basically, I was a runner on the bus. So basically, I went from Norwich to Birmingham to Villa Park. I don't think I sat down for 3.5 hours. All I did was make tea. I was the dog's body. It was up and down. That's what you did as an apprentice. You carried the kit, you made the tea, you cleaned the boots, you cleaned the bus.
Yeah.
And I got dragged in. That time wasn't in the match day squad. I think there might have been 3 subs back then. So yeah, I was dog's body on the bus. Going backwards and forwards, making teas, coffees, clean the kit. It's what you did. Didn't make the match day squad. I think it was 3 subs back then. That's how old I am. That's really, really old. But then the following week, I signed pro contract for John Dean and Norwich City, and it went from there really. It's that first. I remember my first wage, £225 a week. I thought I'd made it. I thought I've hit the big time. Bearing in mind I was on £27.50 as a second year apprentice at the time. To suddenly go to 225 was unheard of.
Yeah.
It was a dream come true. And Keith Webb, who was the youth team manager at the time, said, "Look, I appreciate that. You've done really well. You've signed your pro contract. He let me off with doing jobs, so I no longer had to clean the boots. And at the time, I was on kitchen duty, so I was in charge of making tea for the first team, the reserves, the managers, the staff, cleaning the kitchen top to bottom, making sure that was scrub clean every single day, and doing about 8 pairs of boots. So Keith Webb let me off that, but he didn't give me an apprentice to look after me, to clean my boots and that. He said that's a step too far, which I completely got. That would have been a little bit wrong. Someone the same age as me doing that for me. And then I was an unused sub against Everton. I think November the 4th. November the 4th, November the 5th. Might be November the 5th. Fireworks night. And there was fireworks on the pitch. Duncan Ferguson played up front for Everton. I think he broke John Polston's nose, Spencer Pryor's nose, and I sat there on the bench as a 17-year-old kid going, please don't put me on. Please don't put me on. Big Dunk's going to absolutely murder me.
Literally broken 2 noses in one game.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is 90. This is 94. And you're talking, obviously Big Dunk was ferocious. I think it was accidental. It was a more physical game back then. But I think John Polst had his nose sort of put across his face from a clash of heads or whatever. Spencer Pryor's nose had been caught with an elbow. And there's me, 17 years old, thinking, please, I want to get on because I want to make my debut. But Big Dunk's going to crucify me if I do. And I'm sort of thinking, it was like that. Do I want to go on? Sort of, yes and no.
Like you say, much more chance as well, with it only being 3 subs back then. So there's less options for him to go through, isn't there? Or less, if you're in, you're in. So, just touching on what you were saying there, with making the tea and stuff like that. And I've had this conversation a few times before, but just your opinion on it as well. What these days, obviously, they've got everything, haven't they? They're driving around in silly motors, and do you think that? I know there's different examples, like obviously like Phil Foden, for example, at the moment, absolutely flying, looks like a great professional. I know he's made a couple of mistakes with England and what have you, but do you think back then it was? Obviously, he was made to work harder to be a professional. So,
I believe there is a bit of a culture of giving too much too soon.
Yeah,
it's too easy, and you don't always have to work for it. In this day and age, you can. I look at under 23s now that have never been anywhere near the first team. 22, 23 years old, got everything. Where's the hunger and desire to go to the next level?
Exactly.
Doesn't matter what world you live in, what world you work in. You always need incremental sort of success. It's like you get to one point, you got to go again. You get to that point, you've got to go again. And I've got 2 boys that play. One that runs and a young lad at Everton that's played this week and made his debut from the 23s. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh wow, we get better kit. We get looked after better. We get this on the bus. We get that. I'm like, yeah, all right, fair enough. You're back with the 18s next week. If you want on a regular basis, that's what you got to aim for. That's what you got to work hard for. When I look back at some of the stuff that went on, and people go back and, well, was it appropriate? Probably not. It was certainly character building. That is for sure. People often say it was bullying in the workplace. It wasn't really. I'm still of an old school mentality that, to become a professional footballer, a lot of it is about mental attitude. And are you strong enough to be able to deal with it? And all those little incidents, just basic respect, having to knock on the first team dressing room before you walked in and be invited in. If you walked in, you got pelted with dirty socks and dirty kit, and you got sort of punished for it. But one that integrated you into the first team, they sort of understood you and got to know you a little bit, and they respected you for that, for working hard. And I think there is a little bit of that that's been lost. There's a little bit of, I think, respect at the younger end, probably in life in general, in all honesty. But I think, the young lads now, a lot of them do get too much too soon. And I don't think necessarily that they always appreciate it, what they do get given and what they have got. Because I've seen it so many times that great players, incredibly talented young kids, just fall off because they don't have that work ethic. They don't have the dedication, the desire, and they're not prepared to make the sacrifices. and they waste their talents, which is a dying shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose on the flip side of that, that does bring so-called cream of the crop, doesn't it, to the top? Because, like you say, if then people who've got all that talent and don't make it, there's only one person to blame, really, isn't there? Because if they've got it all in front of them,
but that's always been the way, I think. But when you take away incentives and you give people too much too soon, it's where's the next incentive to go? When you see young players earning absolute fortunes when they've done nothing in the game, all of us. So the example of that would be, I'll just make it up. Let's just say it's a Man City youngster that's never been anywhere near the first team, is on 8-9 grand a week. Suddenly comes towards the end of his contract and goes, well, do you want to go to Gillingham on loan, or do you want to go to Gillingham permanently for 1,500 quid a week?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Wash my own kit, cook my own dinner. You're used to having silver platter service. Somebody do everything for you. How do you step backwards, and go away from that? And I think that's what's hard for these young players. They get so looked after, they get so spoiled. They're not all going to make it at these top clubs. So how do they step backwards? And I think it's very, very difficult to be able to do that. Some of them, their first cars are, a brand new Mercedes.
Yeah, ridiculous. And
after 2 years, when they don't get another contract, they've got to drop down to a Ford Focus. Now, that's not an issue, but that's quite tough. And if they're not managed in the right way, when you have to do that massive step down in life, it's tough. Whatever realm you work in, taking 2 or 3 steps backwards is hard, and it's tough. And I think that's where a lot of young players suffer mentally from it.
Yeah, I can't see it going back other way now, though. I think with all the money that's in the game, I can't see him going back to like your 90 quid YTSs.
No, and that's a big problem because as the money goes up, the young talent is around, and young talent is always, well, if they won't pay it, somebody else will. Yeah. If Liverpool won't pay it, Man City will. So, and of course, it just means that money goes up and up and up.
Yeah.
But again, that's down to then coaches, parents. I'm quite strict, quite harsh on my kids because I've been there, seen it, and I've seen
what it takes,
and I've seen people fall away very, very quickly. So if you don't work, don't come to me moaning that you're not in a team if you haven't done everything possible and worked your socks off to get in the team. It's not the coach's fault; it's your own fault. Simple as that. Don't come crying to me that the coach shouted at you because you didn't do your job. Do your job. It's not hard, is it? That's the way I look at it. Don't give them an excuse to have a go at you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally agree.
So just going back to Norwich then, I think you went on to make 60, 70 appearances, somewhere around 60 odd appearances, I think, for them first team. Were you been growing up around there? Were you a Norwich supporter?
Yeah, I was a Norwich lad. Came through schoolboy system now, which would be the academy system. Was an apprentice, then professional, and my debut at 18. Gave away a penalty on my debut live on TV. Not a great start. Thankfully, I think John Newsom scored after about 3 minutes up the other end. And we took the lead again. Longest 3 minutes of my life. That is for sure. Played a good couple of seasons, then had some issues with the manager, Mike Walker. Didn't quite work out for me. One occasion put me on, set a goal up, took me off after 15 minutes after half time. And that was it. Didn't play for the club again after that.
Subbed off.
Yeah, came on against Middlesbrough. I think we were 1-0 down. Came on against Middlesbrough. This would have been Championship, League One, whatever it was back then. Emerson and people like that were playing for Borough. Came on half time, 15 me off. I was like, 19 years old.
Any explanation for that, or
no?
Just...
None.
No, you don't
absolutely
need that.
None. Didn't speak to me. So I put a transfer request in the next day, which was maybe a little bit ahead of myself, but I thought, no, I've got principles here. If he's not going to talk to me, I did it. And then he was tough. It took me 6 months to leave. I couldn't get away. Wouldn't let me go. And it got to breaking point when Tony Pulis was the Gillingham manager. Was really keen to take me on loan. And I think Gillingham were a league down. So what would have been League One now, I think League or Division 2 at the time. And he'd been watching all the reserve team games and was like, I played a reserve team on a Thursday night. And he said, yeah, that's it. Want you in, signed Friday morning, and you can play Saturday. We'll get all the paperwork done. So I went into training back then, took in me mobile phone out to training, spoke to the reserve team manager, said, I need to get this deal done before midday. I think it was like a Nokia flip phone or something. You know what I mean? This is there was no text messaging. This was calls only.
I'm gonna say like stuff. Dom Jolly type stuff.
Yeah, big aerial. You had a flip and then you had to pull the aerial out of it. It was ridiculous. No phone call. Then phoned a guy that was looking after me at the time. And he said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm at the training guy." He said, "You're not." He says, "You're on the bus to Bradford." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, Tony Pulis phoned the club this morning to arrange the deal. And Mike Walker said, no, he's with the first team squad travelling to Bradford. Can't have him. And I wasn't. And you're thinking, and that was it then. And then luckily, after some clear the air talks, I ended up going to Charlton at the end of that season. And of course, we went on an incredible run. Scored on my debut for Charlton. Yeah. Went into the playoffs, having been sent off in the first leg of the semi-final. I think we conceded one. No, we hadn't conceded a goal. I think in 10 games, and then let 4 in the final. So it was
what an incredible final that was.
Well, yeah, and of course, Mickey Gray missed the penalty. Yeah. And I always say that's a sliding doors moment in my career. If Mickey had scored that, then who knows what would have happened. Charlton would have been another year in the Championship. I wouldn't have played in the Premier League. I wouldn't have got that move to Leeds. And who knows, I'd have still been the same sort of player.
Yeah.
But those moments of sort of luck, if you like, just coincide. And I mean, Sasha Ilic always says it was a great save. It wasn't. Let's be honest. Mickey Gray will tell you it was the worst penalty ever. Sasha was singing and dancing like he flicked her out the top corner. But yeah, and then of course move into the Premier League. First season in the Premier League starts off brilliant. I think we're top. I think we're second after 2 games. We drew with Newcastle with 10 men away. Yeah. Then we lost. Then we beat Southampton 5-0, and we're thinking, "Oh, this is all right. This Premier League lark, isn't it? It's quite easy." And then we just went on a horrific runs after that, and obviously we managed to survive until the last game of the season. But at that point, I knew that a potential move to Leeds was on the cards.
Did you notice a big gap in the quality moving up the league?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you go in first game of the season, Newcastle, Shearer, Stuart Pearce, don't know who. They're just sheer quality players. Yeah, the speed, the power, everything. They were sensational. And it was tough. It really was tough. But yeah, it's so the game was a bit more physical back then, which suited me. Wasn't a massive issue. But yeah, the step up in quality is not one step up from the Championship to the Premier League. It's 2 or 3 steps.
Yeah.
I mean, even going Newcastle first game, crowd noise as well. That's a big one to go to first game.
Oh, well, so my debut for Charlton was away at Crewe in front of, I don't know, 4,000 people, whatever it might have been. Suddenly you go to Newcastle and it's 55,000. Whatever it is. Yeah. And Charlton fans are way up so far away up in the top corner. You can hardly see them. But then I think we drew with Liverpool 3 each fairly early on in the season as well. And again, I think that first season we get promoted, you just ride the crest of a wave. You want to go to Old Trafford. I think we went 1-0 up at Man U and then got beat 4-1. We drew 3-3 with Liverpool. It was just, it's almost sort of surreal. When suddenly you've seen these placed on the TV, and suddenly you're there. You're playing against, Giggs, and you're playing against, all these great players at Manchester United, whatever, that you've seen on Match Today for many, many years.
Yeah. I mean, you see that quite often, don't you? You say like Christopher Wave there, like Sheffield United, first season, they've absolutely flown, come in. I mean, with all due respect to Sheffield United, not the greatest players in the world. They didn't spend a lot of money really when they came up. And I think they finished, 7th or something?
Yeah, because it's new. The adrenaline gets you through it. A lot of it, it's exciting to go to all these places.
It's like a cup final every week, isn't it, for you?
Exactly. Yeah. I had friends and family. Went to Old Trafford for the first time, Anfield for the first time.
Yeah.
Ellen Road for the first time. All these places for the first time. Watching you play every single week was a big deal. And of course, these teams didn't really know about you. They didn't really know about Charlton.
No.
Our team, although it was squad numbers, our team was pretty much 1 to 11 on our backs. We didn't have a big squad. We weren't full of superstars. We just did what we did. And so there was, you have, I think like Sheffield United did in their first season, you have a bit of a surprise element to it, and then obviously as the season goes on, people start to work you out a little bit. And if you haven't got the out and out quality, eventually you get found out.
Yeah. Who was Gaffer that took you to Charlton?
Alan Kirbishley. Yeah, he was great. I played in an under-21 representative team against Surrey B side at the Valley. He was obviously the manager. They were looking for a right back with a bit of pace, and lucky I fitted the bill. And that was it. So but talk about again circumstances, dramatic rise. Signed for Charlton for £250,000 in the March. Left Charlton 14 months later for £4.5 million to go to Leeds. It's ridiculous. Well, it is actually ridiculous when you look at it. But again, it coincided with me being in on the 21 side, England, and then getting into the full squad because there was loads of injuries and the fee just kept going up and up and up.
Yeah.
It got a little bit daft in the end, but got an incredible move to Leeds.
Yeah.
Just before we move on to Leeds, would you? I know I don't think you were on pitch at the time. But would you have taken a pen if it had been needed in that playoff final?
Yeah, I was down as one of the players to take them, but Curbs had a favourite for taking off number 2 and number 7, which was always me and Sean Newton. No matter. He did it on my debut. I'd scored on my debut, and he took me off for like 5 minutes to go. What are you doing?
An exact science.
Well, yeah, but it was one of those games back then. If you went 5 games without a booking, you got one of your bookings knocked off.
Right.
And that was my 5th game that I needed. I hadn't been booked in the game. So leave me on, we're 3-0 up, leave me on for 5 minutes, and I get a booking wiped off. Simple. And he took me off. What are you doing? He loved taking off 2 and 7. But no, I think we had to go for it. We were losing at the time. And we did. There's a tackle in that game. Steve Brown makes one of the best tackles you'll ever see. Brownie slides in, makes a tackle, and I think that might make it 3 each. That leads to that. Obviously, Clive got his hat trick. But sitting on the sidelines, the only thing about this is the bizarre thing about football. The biggest thing about the game I remember, I got done for one of the goals at the far post. I don't remember which goal it was, but Quinny did me at the far post. I got caught under the ball a little bit, caught a bit square. He chested it down and volleyed it in the far corner. And that's all I've ever thought about in that game, really.
Yeah. That's what sticks with you.
That's the thing. People say to you, what do you remember about the game? I don't remember anything. It's all false memories. It's all TV memories and not even DVD, video memories from back then. But that's the one thing that stands out in my mind that I messed up one of the goals.
That's brilliant.
And and I think it's like, could have done that better.
Yeah.
Noted, for goodness sake. Made it to the Premier League.
Yeah,
still that irks me that I made a mistake for that goal. Made plenty of others after that. Don't worry about that.
So unfortunately, Charlton go on to get relegated. Again, going back to what your conversation before, that's not luck, but the fact that Charlton got relegated probably instigated the move to Leeds. But maybe you'd have stayed at Charlton if they'd have stayed up. Who knows? But so you move on to Leeds. O'Leary's in charge. He's taking you to Leeds. How did them conversations come about? Did they just?
It was. I got a phone call in the March. A pal of mine knew David Hopkins' agent at the time. So someone had got. Again, this is before social media. This is before text messaging and all that sort of stuff. You had to bring people up. You had to find out their home number. We had to write a letter. It's bizarre. It's bizarre, isn't it?
It's crazy even saying that about. That's not even that long ago, is it? That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
22 years ago, 21 years ago.
It's just
it's bizarre how the world is so different now. But yeah, I got a phone call to say that Leeds were interested. Gary Kelly had been out for some time. Leeds were looking for a new fullback. I'd had a really good season. I got a phone call on the Thursday night, and I'm thinking, right, okay, this is me versus Harry Kewell now. Obviously Harry was on fire at the time. One of the best young players around in the Premier League. So right, okay, got my head sorted out. Played the game, kicked him off the park for about 60, 70 minutes. He went and played right wing after that 70 minutes. I thought, right, that's it, job done.
Yeah.
And then it was really a case of, Leeds are impressed, they're happy. If you go down, they're definitely coming in for you. And then Charlton, it was really a case of me or Kinsella had to leave to balance the books, really. Kins didn't want to go. Kins was quite happy to stay. And I was like, well, this is a club that's just finished fourth, I think, in the Premier League. They're in European competition. That's where I want to go. I think Villa had come in for me as well. At the time, I went, no. I said, I just want to go to Leeds. To go from reserve team football to getting a move to Charlton, getting promoted, first season in the Premier League, to suddenly playing potentially European football was like, wow, this was miracle stuff. This was dream comes true stuff. So sort of had to force that move through a little bit because, as I said, that the fee was getting silly and just kept going up and up and up. And then went to Leeds. Son was born 3 days before the season finished. We were still in with a chance. We had to win final game of the season. I think Sheffield Wednesday had to lose. It was Sheffield Wednesday, but they were with like 2-0 up at half time. So we were down. We were dead and buried. So I think we lost. And that was it. And then went away on international duty. And then in the space of sort of 2 or 3 weeks, deal was pretty much done and signed for Leeds. And it was exciting times. Batty had signed earlier, sort of previously, I think the previous window or, previous season. I came in, Huckabee came in, Dewberry came in, Michael Bridges came in, plus all the young lads that were already there, Harry, Harty, McPhail, Smithy, Woody, and it was a very, very exciting young side. And just great to be part of. And we were young, we were hungry, and we all had a point to prove. It goes back to what we talked about earlier, young lads. No one was earning great money, at the time. No one had done anything in the game. So our biggest desire was to be successful, and earn better contracts. And that was our driving force, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, quite a lot of highlights will come very quickly with the big European nights. I mean, I know which ones stand out for me, but which ones stand out in your memory? I mean, there's obviously the night in San Siro. I mean,
I
think the list is endless, really, isn't it? But
walking into the new camp for the first time is special. Even before that, even that first season, going, I was on the bench for a lot of them, going to games against Roma, and big games like that in the UEFA Cup, as it was, were huge. Playing in huge stadiums, traveling like that. But then, of course, I was back in the side. Played in even the qualifying game against 1860 in the Olympic Stadium in Munich. What a place to go and play football! Incredible. New camp, Milan at home, obviously, was incredible. And I even say now, Mills and Dubry on the team sheet against Shevchenko and Bierhoff, probably the best strike force in Europe at the time. And all the Leeds fans going.
That's it. Even I remember cringing at that a bit.
Exactly. This could be a cricket score. This could be a big one. But we both played well that night. Dida chucked one in, obviously, which helped us out, and that got us rolling, really. And then after that, it was just night after night. I think I was on the bench when Smithy scored in against Lazio in the Olympic Stadium again in Rome. Against I think Nesta and people like that were playing for Lazio.
It was a tough draw, wasn't it? A tough draw that you had.
We got obviously 2 group stages back then. We got group of death, so we had Milan, AC Milan, Barcelona, and Besiktas. We get through that group somehow. Not quite sure how. And then we get Lazio, Real Madrid, and Anderlecht, who at the time I think it was it Kohler and Zinski. With 2 fantastic players, and Anderlecht hadn't been beaten at home for something, I don't know, in Europe for 5-6 years or something. They were on fire. And we went there and destroyed them.
I'm going to bring Anderlecht up specifically because I think at the time their manager called out Leeds as like the weak link, didn't they? And basically,
I mean, Anderlecht did it. Deportivo did it because obviously Deportivo La Coruña had won the Spanish league.
Yeah.
Madrid, I think Madrid were in the Champions League because they'd won it the season before, but I think they finished 4th or 5th in the Liga.
Yeah.
Deportivo had won it. Barcelona had finished 2nd the season before. And Deportivo, I think their fans, their players, their manager were like, who is this Leeds team? Why are they here? They don't deserve to be here. You know, we'll blow them away.
Yeah.
And of course, they came to Ellen Road and we just kicked the crap out of them. got a 3-0 victory. Thank goodness, because we went away to Deportivo and we got absolutely battered. You know, they were a good side as well. You know, Fran, Diego, Tristan. Oh, I mean, I think Harry Kill gave a penalty away, didn't he, after 20 minutes or something?
Yeah. Well,
Harry hadn't been in our own box for about 3 years. That's how much on the back foot we were. We were just defended for 90 minutes and somehow managed to get away with a 2-0 win or 2-0 loss, but obviously a 3-2 on aggregate.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know what to say. I'm a bit in shock here talking about this. But what I like, going to Leeds then with, I mean, I won't go into the big drinking issue as in, well, we all know what it was. I won't go too much into that. But what was it like still then at Leeds? I mean, we've just been talking about the culture of mobile phones and no internet. What were drinking like, and was that sort of culture?
Well,
still
it was a very, very young squad. There was 2 or 3, not cliques, but there was 3 different card schools, I would say. So you had the old farts, which I was part of. So that was me, Batty, Will Cox, Nigel Martin, maybe one other. At this point? Oh, I'm quite young at this point. I'm 23, 22, 23. But I've got 2 kids.
An old 23.
Well, yeah, but I've got 2 kids at this stage.
Right, yeah.
Jace is there, Nigel's there, but you know they've all got kids. So we used to play Hearts. Hearts, and anyone knows it lasts about an hour, and we used to play for a £5. So worst case, well, Bats was in charge. So worst case, you might end up 20 quid down on a trip, and then you had sort of European middle of the bus was like the European lads. Eric Backer, maybe Alfie was there to start with. You know those sort of players, and at the back you'd have the hard hitting card school. You know the 3 card braggers for some heavy cash.
Yeah,
a little bit more lively.
Who was in that? Who was in that one then?
Who'd have been in that? I think Rio would have been in that. Don Matteo would have been in that at the back. Maybe Doobs, maybe Kells. You know, again, all good fun. You know, they all got on fantastically well. But there was definitely, you know, for a baby school, a junior school, and a big boy school for the card school. I was always in the baby school. I was never going anywhere near the big boys. But I mean, drinking wine, it was just we'd win, we'd have a drink. You know, we'd stay over after European nights, and you know, if we played on a Wednesday, we'd play the game and we'd fly back Thursday afternoon. So we'd, you know, rather than sort of rush back, get back 2-3 in the morning, we'd stay over in the hotel, have a warm down, massages, all those sort of things the next day, and then fly back on the Thursday, ready train Friday and have a game Saturday or Sunday, and that worked quite well. But of course, lads are buzzing in a hotel. It's like, get on the beers, isn't it? You know, after a game, I mean, obviously a lot of the lads went out more than I did because I had kids. So, you know, that was quite early. I mean, my daughter was born in between the 2 Champions League semi-final legs.
Right.
So that was my second. You know, that was my second. So I had 2 kids under 3. You know, when we played in the Champions League. So my priorities were a little bit different. You know, I might still go out, but maybe not as much as the rest of the lads. But it was just good times. You know, everyone was young. You know, we were winning. Every club was doing it. I mean, it wasn't that we were doing anything particularly different at the time. And you think, you know, young lads flying high, enjoying life. You know, as long as we performed on the pitch, then you know, no one really had a huge issue with that. I mean, we had after we played Besiktas, I think I came home about 5:30 in the morning in my club suit still, having promised to take me little and swimming the next day. Didn't make that. That didn't go down particularly well.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
Oh yeah, I'm like that. We had just won 6-0 in the Champions League. But
Well, we hadn't all been there. But
Definitely not.
Trust me, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make whether you won 6-0 in the Champions League or just stayed in the pub too late. You still get the same amount of grief.
Yeah.
Best you played with at Leeds? I know it's difficult with different positions and different styles of play, but maybe one from each position then. But any real standouts?
Kells was amazing. Bearing in mind we're both playing for the same position. Top guy, top lad. Welcomed me with open arms when I first went there, even though I turned up to replace him. So can't speak highly enough of Kells for that. I mean, Rio, outstanding. He wasn't there obviously very long, but was still superb. Yeah. Lucas, the chief, nicest man on the planet, silent assassin, hard as nails. Loved kicking people, great defender. Woody probably didn't play enough, but talent-wise, Woody could have gone on to be one of the best in the world, and almost just injuries curtailed his career.
Yeah,
his body just wouldn't stand up to it. I mean, to play centre half for England at 18, it's unheard of. I know we see it sort of now a little bit, but back then you had to be like 25 to get in the England team. This was like Tony Adams era and that type of thing. It was like, you didn't get anywhere near it. Woody was just outstanding. Harty was left back. We had no other left back. Harty was superb. So I've never seen set pieces delivered like Harty. Right foot, left foot, penalties, free kicks was superb. Harry Kewell, I say, was the first Gareth Bale, if you like. Because we played 4-3-3. We didn't really play 4-4-2. It was quite unusual. Harry almost had a free roll on that left-hand side. I think he scored 20 plus goals one year from left wing. That's sensational. Lee Bowyer on the right played narrow. Again, that worked for him. So I wasn't a wide player. You think of Kanchelskis or Beckham, those type of wide players getting crosses in, just run straight through the middle. Batty and Decor. Everyone goes on about, the holding midfield player. Bats was the first holding midfield player, in my opinion.
A long time ago, yeah.
Never, always passed it sideways, never gave it away. Would drop you in the crap and make you give it away, so he didn't have to give it away, but was always available for it. Would never shy away from it. No, nothing like that. Ollie Decor was brilliant, and I've told Ollie this personally. I've said Ollie was a big game player.
Yeah.
Wasn't maybe always up for Wimbledon away or Bolton away, but when it came to the big games of Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal, Champions League, European, Ollie was sensational. He was absolutely superb. And then that culmination of Smithy and Verdukes just worked. And I've said to many people, Nigel in goal as well. Nigel was fantastic. It was a jigsaw puzzle that just fitted and worked. Apart from Rio, no one went outside that jigsaw puzzle and was really better than we were at Leeds. Everybody complemented each other. Bo played narrow on the right. I was able to overlap. Harry occupied two defenders, so Harty never really got attacked and got outpaced. The midfield was holding. Verdukes had an unbelievable goal scoring ability. He couldn't run or didn't want to run. So Smithy did all his running for him.
Yeah.
Everything just fitted together. It was, and I think there was a lot of luck on O'Leary's part for that. He just put players together and it worked. It was like, just chuck them in a hat and this is what came out of it, type thing. But yeah, it was great times. We just weren't quite good enough to go to that next level and win something.
What was Smith? Sorry, I won't keep on the Leeds thing too long with me being biased. But what was Smithy like? Because as a kid growing up, even though he's not one of the biggest names in football, he were always one I looked personally up to because I used to put up front as well.
Smithy was great. I mean, Smithy was game as you like, fit as you like, would work the channels, would chase every single lost cause, no matter what, would put people under pressure. I think he was a much better finisher than people gave him credit for. I think you saw that even when he went to United. I think he'd scored 6 in his first 9 games.
Yeah,
and then they
took
signed.
off. He took off when he went there, didn't he?
And then
they
signed
started
Rooney.
playing in like midfield and stuff, didn't
Yeah,
they?
I think they signed Rooney, didn't they? And I think that killed him, really.
Yeah.
You've signed a lad from Leeds and he's doing well. All of a sudden, you signed this teenager for 35 million, whatever it was. It's like, oh, great, thanks for that. But Smithy was a much better finisher than people gave him credit for. Worked so hard for the team. Would chase everything down, and obviously could handle himself as well. I remember, I think it might be his debut. Came on and give it like Tony Adams, have one of them. Martin Keown, have one of them. It was like he had great respect and he loved football, but he was never in awe of anybody. It was like, you're the same as me. I don't care how old you are. Don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It's now me and you. I think he tore Nesta apart, in Lazio away. He's one of the greatest defenders of all time. Same with Maldini. He's like, Smithy was like 18, 19 years old. You talk about Paolo Maldini, and he's like, yeah, come on, have it then. Let's me and you. But yes, great lad, Smithy. Didn't drink. Completely teetotal. Never touched a drop. So would still go out and have fun. Would show for the lads around quite a bit. But yeah, out of the batty recluse type person. Try and find him, no chance.
Yeah, I'm going to say after Man United, when he had that horrific injury where he did his ankle when he went wall, didn't he? I think.
Never does any media. Never does anything like that. You never hear from him. No, I don't think he doesn't do social media. It's like him and Bats have gone to live in a cave somewhere. In the deepest, darkest depths of Yorkshire. They're both sat in their cave, with a big screen, doing whatever they're doing.
I mean, what did it make a difference with him in changing room? Do you know, with him being a Leeds lad and a Leeds fan? What are them sort of players like in a changing room when it's their own club?
Fans loved him. Fans absolutely adored him. But again, I think they adored him because of his work rate and his work ethic, and his commitment. Same reason they love Bats, for the same sort of thing. And one of the reasons I think that they liked me at the time, because as long as you gave your all, they would accept your faults. They would accept your deficiencies. And I think we were synonymous of the dirty Leeds team of the 70s. Our disciplinary record was horrific, but we would put our foot in. Everybody gave everything in every single. Everybody left it out there, no matter what. Yes, and of course it overspilled from time to time. Yeah. But I think the fans loved that passion. They loved.
A lot of the best teams have that side, don't they? A lot of the best teams have that side swing where they can mix it.
You have to. You look at the great Man United side. Bruce and Pallister. Would leave a bit on you. Then they had Roy Keane in midfield. Before that they had Mark Hughes. And you look at Vieira and Petit. Bergkamp was nasty. You don't get to the top level unless you've got an edge. And of course, there are. Look at Luis Suarez. Okay, it goes too far sometimes.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, in this day and age, would you rather have Luis Suarez or Patrick Bamford? You'd have Luis Suarez. You take the fact that he might bite somebody every now and then and he might get suspended. But actually, you'd rather that player that's got a little bit of a cutting edge that you're thinking, well, if push comes to shove, he's going to step over the line, and get us to win the game. I think, and that's what you need, I think, to get to the very, very top.
Yeah. Just talking about like your rise, as we were on about earlier. Obviously, England call came up. Was that when you were at Leeds?
Yeah, so I'd been with 21s, and then first it was a training camp. I think there was a load of injuries, and got a call up to a training camp. Went to La Manga, trained. Sven was the manager at the time, and then I think we might have been in Champions League at the time. 2001, I think I made my debut. So it must have been just after the Champions League season.
Back in that season, yeah.
Yeah, so we got a call up because there was loads of injuries. A load of people have pulled out of the England squad. So went to La Manga for a week, and then sort of Sven had a big meeting, and we had a friendly in Pride Park against Mexico, and Sven had said everyone's going to play, everyone's going to get a game, really? What? Everyone? What? Even me, everyone? I've only just started, I've just arrived. It's like, I'm thinking, might get a chance. So we prepare for the game, go through all the stuff. I think he makes 8 subs at half time. I'm sort of going, hello, anybody else? I think 10 minutes into the second half, he makes another substitution. I'm sort of still I'm now doing this. I'm now sort of doing my star jumps, running up and down the touchline. I don't even know when I went on, to be honest, and I didn't even know who I came on for until someone asked me the quiz question, and I had to Google it. But I came on for Emil Heskey.
All right.
About 15 minutes to go, and obviously made my debut at Pride Park for England, and then went from there. Really, sort of was in and around the squads. Obviously, Gary Neville was always going to be number one. Phil Neville and Wes Brown were sort of 2 and 3 at the time. But I was having, reasonable seasons at that stage. Todd Grip was looking at a lot of our games because we had a lot of English players in the side. So until the World Cup, I'd only ever started one game. That was at Ellen Road. And that was purely because it was Ellen Road. And I think I only played 45 minutes. Before the World Cup squad was announced, I'd never played more than half a game. Never played more than 45 minutes. I only started the one game and genuinely didn't think I was going to make the squad. I thought obviously Gary Neville was number 2, the right back. And I thought it was probably going to be Phil Neville or Wes Brown, after that. But I had a decent season, 1 or 2 disciplinary issues that year, as per normal. Missed the last couple of games of the season, and then got the letter. Well, we came in from training, and Ian Sylvester, the club secretary at the time, came out to training ground and said, lads, you've need to speak to the 4 of you. Obviously myself, Nige, Robbie and Rio. You've been called into the England squad for the World Cup.
Nice.
It was like,
yeah, what a feeling.
He's like, what does that mean then? You don't quite, it doesn't sink in to start with. All right. Where is it? Oh yeah, Japan. Oh, all right. Now what? And then and then you just sort of go into automatic, and you just think, right, okay. 2 days later, we're going to meet up and we're going to do this and we're going to do that and all the rest of it. And it goes from there, really. And it's not until we meet up. I'm still thinking I'm just lucky to, Gary never got injured, obviously.
Another sliding doors moment again, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, just timing. And then we have a little mini sort of pre-season in Dubai, and then I think it was my birthday. Families went one way back to England. We went the other way back to off to Korea, and we played Korea national side in a friendly game. So it's the first time I've started really properly for England outside of Ellen Road, which was a sort of a token gesture. Played 70 minutes, played really well in that game, ridiculously hot. I mean, we played at night, it was about 85 degrees. Humidity was like 95%. It was just ridiculous. We had these life jackets made of ice to try and cool us down. You can imagine my head, it was just bright red. It was on fire. I looked a bit like Alan Brazil after a night out. And my head was that red. I played well, and then next game, obviously, we played Cameroon. Wes Brown started the game at right back. Didn't have a great game, to be honest. And I was a bit like,
yeah.
I was a bit like, might have half a chance of playing now. And then, of course, we lead up to the first game, and even though we'd gone through shadow play and set pieces and pattern play and all that sort of stuff, and obviously it was, Ashley Cole left back, Rio, Sol, me, Dave in goal. I'm still not quite sure I'm going to play because I've had that carpet whipped out from under me too many times.
Yeah.
So we go into the first meeting, go into the team meeting, and Sven's obviously there at the front with his flip chart. Over it goes. Simon Mills. I've no idea what he said after that. That was it. I'm in.
Starting at World Cup.
Well, it's sort of, a lot of people thought, leading up to, I'd always been questioned because I'd never had the greatest ability in the world, but I'd worked hard. And it was like, everyone had always questioned, is he good enough? Is he good enough for the next step? Is he good enough for the next step? And you question that yourself at times, can I prove it? Can I prove it? And suddenly, you know, when I look back, some of my first memories of watching the World Cup in '86 and Euro '88 and then Italia '90, you know, and you think, and all of a sudden you're going, oh my God, I'm here playing for my country in a World Cup. Yeah. It's like, wow. It's like, it's not in an arrogant way, well, maybe a little bit, but you've sort of gone, I've arrived now.
Well, yeah.
And then very quickly you think, right, oh shit. Now I've got to prove it. Because if I have a bad game, everyone's gonna hammer me.
Yeah,
so instantly you go from sort of elation to, oh no, now I need to play well. Now I need to prove that I actually deserve to be here. So yeah, we obviously drew the first game and then beat Argentina in the second game, which was an incredible game.
Yeah, that must have been a good one to be involved in.
Yeah, and of course it was inside. You know, it was in the dome in Sapporo, which is, I can't remember up until that stage a big game being played indoors. I don't think there had been.
What was that like? It
was really strange. We turned up obviously a couple of days before, or day whenever it was to train. And of course, at the time, Japan was ridiculously hot. It was like 30 degrees. Of course, it was air conditioned stadium. It was freezing.
Yeah.
The first thing we did was like, get the jumpers. Where's the kit, man? Where's the jumpers on? Because it was like, you know, it was freezing cold inside. And then the first thing we did was try and hit the roof of the Bulls, as you do. It's park stuff in it. It's like, you know, who can smash it the furthest.
Just about to play against Argentina and you think, brilliant.
Exactly. So we did that, and then obviously
Did anybody do it?
No, it was a baseball stadium. You don't realise how high, you know, it's miles, absolutely miles up. And of course it's empty, so it's really echoey at the time. And obviously we come into the stadium the next day for the game, and didn't hold that many. Must have only held like mid 20,000, something like that. But probably 80% of it was England fans.
Yeah,
more than half of which were Japanese English fans. Because of the Beckham thing.
Beckham fans, yeah.
you know, Japanese people with mohawks and everything. You know, it was full on. It was full on Spice Girls mania and Beck's mania and everything. You know, he was God in Japan. It was absolute God.
Crazy.
And of course, they were the favourites. Argentina were the favourites at that stage.
Yeah.
Bielsa was manager. Obviously, Pochettino played in that game. Batistuta played.
Yeah, some players there.
Kili Gonzalez, I played against obviously Valencia. Claudio Lopez came on. Diego Simeone was in there as well. Obviously, had the issue with Beck's 4 years earlier. So yeah, it was a little bit of tension, let's say. And of course, Michael went down.
He did go down as well.
Can't blame him for that. Not going to complain. And then Beck's obviously scores the penalty, which I think he was incredibly nervous. Got a little bit lucky, and then we cling on and get the 1-0 win, and that really sees us through into the knockout stages.
Well, I'm going to touch on the Bielsa thing, obviously, again, the Leeds link. But what did you notice then, like the style of play?
I won't lie to you. I didn't even know he was the manager.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. Well, I did mention
until he signed for Leeds and someone mentioned it. I didn't even realise. I didn't even know that Pochettino played in the game.
Brilliant. Fair enough. I knew that
Batistuta was up front. Kili Gonzalez was on the left wing.
Yeah.
Had to mark him. Simeone had played because he went to go and shake Beck's hand before the penalty to try and put him off.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And Claudio Lopez had come on because Sven had him at Lazio, and Sven had given me a huge lecture and gone through every single detail about Claudio Lopez, and then he was on the bench. so I didn't, and even now I couldn't name their team. Not a chance.
No,
not a chance. And I said until Bielsa signed for Leeds, I didn't even realise he was manager.
Brilliant.
Fair enough.
So, just before we move on from England, and I just wanted to touch on, I mean, I think you've mentioned it before. They were a bit of a do, weren't they, with Beck's? You know, you were touching on Beck's mania.
Yeah, we got invited to Beck-ingham Palace. This is pre-World Cup dinner for the players, allegedly. I mean, it wasn't in the slightest. You know, there was this huge big dinner we got the invitations in all this like parchment paper and ribbons and all the rest of it. White tie and diamonds. I didn't even know what black tie was at the time. Didn't even know in a tuxedo, let alone white tie and diamonds. So we're certainly not buying them. But we went. The players had like 3 tables at the back, and I say now, I think bizarrely they've just come back, but Steps had a table in front of us. I think the table in front of that was, it might have been Natalie and Brulia, some of the Spice Girls, whatever. It was just Elton John was there, Joan Collins, I think, was there, Cutnell was there. It was just Celebrityville. I think Pepsi were looking after Beck's at the time, and obviously Adidas and all the rest of it. It was just the who's who, and it was that. It was like, oh my god. I spent most of the time in the kids. I say marquee. It wasn't a marquee. It was like about 10 marquees.
Yeah.
Chasing my kids around because my wife wouldn't leave them anywhere else. Would leave my family at the time. But yeah, it was a bit surreal. I think, and also having sushi for the first time. 2000. I know it's common now, and it's like everyone knows it. But go back to 2002, so there weren't. Sushi wasn't around.
No,
sushi wasn't common. You had to be right posh to know about sushi. Raw fish.
It's not for me now, to be fair. It's nice.
Well, it's like people go, I want it cooked, lad. Not eating that. I want it. Raw fish.
What? Just staying on Bex then. What were he like to be around with that sort of fame and stardom and the focus on him? Did he deal with it personally well, and did he like deflect that away to help you guys get away from it, so to speak? Or
2 things I say: we jumped on the bandwagon at every opportunity. So every single freebie that came our way because of Bex.
Yeah,
we were there. We got laptops, digital cameras for the first time, because I think Sony one of his sponsors. So they gave us laptops, and they get
totally crazy.
So put it in context, at the time, a 64 megabyte memory card, megabyte, was £200.
Flipping heck.
It was the first age of like a digital camera. It was just unheard of. But we got golf clubs, we played golf, we got freebies, we had Amazon accounts, we had everything. It was all because of Bex. So we jumped on that bandwagon. We were all over it. But because he was so huge, because of the Spice Girls and because of the Mohawk especially, every single Japanese fan, everywhere we went, Beckham, people lining the streets, just to get a glimpse of him. We went to the Hard Rock Cafe in Kobe after a game, and they closed 4 blocks down to get the bus in because there was just fans everywhere. And it was quite a funny moment. We got off the bus. So Bex got off the bus, and then all the security staff got off the bus. And Gareth Southgate from the back shouted, "Don't worry, lads, we'll be fine on our own." All the security just like purely around Bex.
Just around him.
Just look after him. But yeah, so he kept himself to himself. He was quite quiet.
Yeah.
He did things. He did what he needed to do. I think obviously the masseurs at the time, he was very, very close to Terry Byrne and Steve Slattery. I know Terry now looks after Gareth. I think Terry was his agent for a while as well, wanted to look after him. But because of what had happened 4 years earlier, obviously with Simeone, when he came off the pitch, they put an arm around him, they looked after him. And I think he remembered that. So he was very, very close with them. And I think still is. So he goes to show, obviously he appreciated what, obviously at the time was a horrific moment. And obviously all the fans on his back, that they looked after him. So yeah, but he was just quiet really. Never really said too much. Kept himself to himself as much as anything.
And what about as a player? Like obviously played in front of you for England.
It was great for me because I could just give him the ball and then do all the running. I could run past and go, yes, Bex, don't give me it really because
decoy.
You do, give it someone else. Give it to Scholesy, but I'll keep running and look good, running up and down. But no, I think obviously he had a fantastic partnership with Gaz Nev, and I sort of I tried to do my best in that and sort of not look after him, but give him do a lot of the hard stuff.
Yeah,
because it was clearly with the player, and that's what you do. It's a team. You all have your own skills and your skill set. So mine was to stop the winger, get the ball, give it to Becks, give it to Scholesy, give it to the front players, and let them go and play, let them go and be creative. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say we were ever close, but I think he appreciated what I did. And sort of in looking after him, not looking after him, but doing the hard graft for him at times. Making those runs, tracking the winger.
yeah,
and that sort of thing.
yeah. Fair.
Although when I did get him to sign his book for me once, and he just signed it David Beckham. There wasn't even a personal message. So maybe he didn't like me after all.
Brutal. We've got to touch on the Brazil game, the quarter-final. That must have been, like, stood there waiting to go out against Brazil for England. Must have been special.
Yeah, I think we blew away Denmark.
Battered them, yeah.
For 20 minutes, we were on a high. We destroyed them. I didn't actually play that well in that game, I think. Well, it wasn't one of my better games of the World Cup. Did okay, but obviously, you sort of ultra critical of yourself. But they were going into Brazilian thinking, right, okay, right. First and foremost, what's my job? They played a really strange system at the time. So they had 4 at the back, and then they played 2 holding midfield players, 2 more central midfield players, and then 2 up front. And it was like, no one played this system. So all the width came from the fullbacks. So obviously it was Carlos on one side, Cafu on the other. So I'm thinking, right, okay, my job, Roberto Carlos. Thinking, played against him in Madrid briefly. Guy's a flying machine, and this, that, right. So that's basically my job. Midfield was going to have to play narrow. But we were thinking, if we can beat these, there's half a chance, there's half a chance that we could win the World Cup. You start sort of getting a bit carried away with yourself. Think, because if we beat these, there's no one else can stop us. This is the best team left in the tournament. And when I say that strange formation, when you have to put sort of, I think Juninho played in that game. But obviously you had Gilberto Silva as a holding midfield player, but then you had to fit in Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, Ronaldo.
Yeah,
it's just a bizarre formation. Basically, all the strength within the middle, and that's what they played. Obviously, first minute, I think Roberto Carlos got the ball at left back, and I sort of, there's cartoon moments where everything sort of goes to slow motion. I looked at him, and we sort of made eye contact, and I went, "He's going to knock it that way. He's going to knock it behind me, and this is going to be a race." So he did it. We ran it, and luckily, I turned quick enough, got there, and we both arrived at the same time. It was a huge tackle, big collision. Put it out for a throw in. And about 5 minutes later, a very similar sort of thing had happened. Somebody hit a raking ball over the top, and it was bouncing. And it was a race to get there. And again, we arrived at about the same time. I got the ball first. Big challenge in midair. And I'm now thinking, you know what? I've got half a chance now.
Yeah.
He's not going to do me for pace. So as long as I'm now ultra focused, do what I've got to do, I've got a chance. Because at that time, I'd always say I'd get done once in a game. Sort of down the outside, the guy would go past me, and they get a crossing. And then you're hoping that your goalkeeper picks the ball out or centre half heads it away. But if you get done in that first minute, that first tackle, you're on the back foot constantly, and it's tough. So to get that first tackle in, to match him for pace, suddenly you're going, oh, okay, yeah. It's still going to be tough, but I've got half a chance. But again, I think looking back now, and I've not watched it, but I don't think I've ever watched the whole game back, to be honest. They were just too good for us. But I think they were just too good. They were better than us. I
mean, obviously the Ronaldinho goal and stuff, it's
still a fluke. And people will say, he did it. No, he didn't. There's not a single other time I've seen him do that free kick.
No.
I don't believe he was trying to do that at the time.
No. I can't. I'm undecided.
I just don't want to talk about it.
I mean, the equaliser that just before half time, wasn't it?
Oh,
killer.
That's what killed us, really.
Beck jumped out of that tackle, didn't he?
Well, I think he thought the ball was going to be out of play.
Yeah.
He was trying to leave it to obviously get the throw in, just to kill the game off, and someone obviously slid in and got to the ball first.
Yeah.
And then, but even that was deep in their half, I think.
Oh yeah. Ronaldinho ran with it, didn't he?
Yeah, and then and then they went bump, 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 and of course, the last person you want it to fall to on his left peg inside the area is Rivaldo.
Yeah.
And he slots that away, and we go into half time demoralised, really.
Yeah.
Having sort of gone 1-0 up, and we needed something at half time. We didn't really get it from Sven. We didn't get that big sort of motivational surge that we needed to go out second half.
Yeah.
And then even when they went down to 10 men, we just didn't have the quality. The only regret that I have in the game is that we didn't go old school and just shell it into the box.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether we were knackered, just didn't have the energy levels. But that's the only thing I think I was the only person to have got half a shot on target in the second half.
Mm.
We never really created any chances, even against 10 men. They just kept the ball. They managed to keep us at bay. And I think, yes, they were better than us. Yes, we were incredibly tired at that point. And because they kept the ball better, we were exhausted, absolutely exhausted. I remember finishing the game, and his feet were just on fire, absolutely on fire. Swollen, blisters, all sorts, just and disappointment as well. I mean, if you'd got, had we got through, you'd have strapped him up. Pain would have gone away.
Yeah.
Of course, when you lose, that pain's about 10 times worse.
Yeah, it is one of them. I think they played Turkey in semi-finals. Well, you'd taken Turkey in the semi-final, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and then obviously South Korea, Germany was the other semi-final.
Yeah.
So at that stage, we'd have fancied our chances, against any of them. But it's amazing that we went from, it was Osaka, wasn't it? We flew home. We got back to the hotel, stayed overnight in Osaka in the hotel, got hammered, drowned our sorrows, got up the next morning about 7:00, flew back to Awaji team hotel, had 2 hours to pack, and we were back on the plane on the way home.
Done.
And all of a sudden, blink of an eye, that's it. World Cup over.
How did you find the being away from home, staying in hotels and stuff like that?
I didn't mind it, to be honest. So I had 2 young children at the time. It was interesting. So other players, Nigel Martin, Gareth Southgate, good friends of mine who'd been to other tournaments, said that was a unique tournament. The time difference obviously was incredibly different and challenging from what they'd faced before. The fact that there weren't many England fans because it was incredibly expensive, and they were able to stop any sort of hooligans travelling, because of the border control at Japanese airports and passports and all that sort of stuff. So they said it was a completely different experience of a World Cup to where they'd been before, or Euro Championships, whatever it might be. But no, I quite liked being away from the family at that point.
Yeah.
Because it was, and this is what I don't quite understand in this day and age, when people say, it's tough being on your own. It's 5-6 weeks. You're playing in the most important competition of your life. It's the pinnacle of your job. It's 5-6 weeks. All I wanted to do was train as hard as possible. Rest. Train as hard as possible. Rest. Play as hard as possible. Recover. Rest. I didn't want any distractions.
I was going to say, so when you say enjoy being away from family, it's just because you get that focus of just.
Oh yeah, I was 100% into it. Because I'd have said, if let's say my wife and kids had been out, 4 miles down the road, one of the kids is not feeling very well. The wife's annoyed at something. She's pissed that something's happened, something's gone wrong. You want to go and fix it.
Yeah.
Naturally, you want to go and help out. You want to be there. You want to do this. They're several thousand miles away, an 8-hour time difference. Like, sorry, love, sort yourself out. And as selfish as that sounds, that's how it was for me. It's like, I'm doing what I'm doing here. This is, I'm focusing on me. For this short amount of time, this is all about me. And yes, I love you. And yes, I love the kids. And, I want everyone to be safe. But I can't affect their lives right now. So I actually think it was a good thing. That was, the distance and the time and everything was away from them.
Yeah.
You know, we had a game. People say you get bored. Of course you do. But we had DVDs. We had a games room. We had a full arcade downstairs in the basement of the hotel. I said before, you know, you couldn't get Dave Seaman off Sega Fishing. It was impossible. I think Sega Sea Bass, Sega Bass
Yeah,
Fishing.
I remember that. I remember that game. Yeah.
You could not get him off it. And of course, you know, we weren't having to put pounds in every time. You know, it was all free.
Yeah.
But so we entertained ourselves. But it was, and that's, you're either training, and then recovering, and eating, and then preparing, or you're playing.
Yeah.
And that's all you're doing.
Well, in 2006, they went the other way, didn't they? Like, the WAG thing, that just...
It didn't work. Baden. But so that was the new... That was where the sort of the WAG culture sort of burst onto the scene, wasn't it? And
it's not ideal, is it?
I think it was Cheryl Cole and Colleen Rooney and Abby Clancy and all the rest of it. Basically, it was party town. Yeah. So that's a huge distraction.
Yeah.
That's a massive distraction. And then they're all over the papers and everything else. That's the last thing you need. I've always said, you know, this is your job. This is the pinnacle of your career. You're an England footballer representing your country. It's actually got nothing to do with my family at this stage. You know, if I was at home, it'd be different because, you know, you're going through your normal routine, but I'm now away. I have to be focused. I have to be in the zone, you know, every minute of every day to be the best that I can be. You know, and I've often said now, I guess to be the perfect footballer, you're probably best off not getting married, probably best off not having kids until you finish. So you can go, you know what, 9 till 8, 9 till 5, whatever it want to be, I'm going to be in training early. I'm going to get massages after training. I'm going to do everything I possibly can because it's a short career. Now, my career was completely opposite. I had 4 kids by the time I was 27, and I don't regret that for a minute. But if you were going to create the perfect world and the perfect opportunity, yes, you probably need a girlfriend or a wife and you know, a bit of stability at home. But ultimately, you have to be selfish, you know, to get to the very, very top. And so, to create the perfect footballer or sportsman, I think that would be the perfect scenario. Of course, the world isn't perfect. We know that. And that's why I think Japan suited me, because I could just be completely focused on me.
Yeah.
Just one more thing I wanted to ask on England. I think around that time it were the conversations around cliques in England squad and how different teams had different players.
Always. Yeah. But it's normal. It's standard. So there was 4 lads from Leeds. Plus Gareth lived just up the road from us at the time. You know, just outside Harrogate. So when we used to travel, Nigel knew him from Crystal Palace days. And when we travelled to England games, we'd all travel together in the same cars and whatever. So there was almost 5 of us part of that. So we knew each other well. You know, we knew each other outside of football as well. The Liverpool lads knew each other very, very well. The Man United lads knew each other very well. The Arsenal lads knew each other very well. Don't think there weren't too many Chelsea lads at the time. So it's like flat back 4 going to convention. And suddenly you're meeting people from, you know, I don't know, Nike, Adidas, Puma, whatever it might be. That first night when you go down to dinner, you sit with the guys that you know.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
No one in their right mind goes and walks onto a table of strangers and goes, "Hi lads, hi mate." It doesn't happen, does it? It's just human nature. You gravitate to people that you know and people that you get on with. So were there cliques? Yes. But not in a bad way.
Yeah.
No,
it's just normal.
So a lot of what we've read in media, then it's a bit overhyped with that sort of
massively. You know, footballers there's quite a lot of OCD, and there's a lot of idiosyncrasies and habits. When you walked into that dining room the first time, so let's say there's a dining room there, it's got 40 seats around it. You sit down for the first meal. I would sit next to Nige. We'd always walk in hand, because you never wanted to walk in on your own, because it's even when you got, like, you know, you've played with this several times, it's still intimidating to walk in the first time. Where do you sit? So you walk into that room and you sit at your dining table, and that is now your seat for the tournament. You don't move.
Right.
So every meal time, that's my seat. So you can imagine a table of 40 people. You walk down for breakfast, and some of the lads are training, some of the lads are maybe having treatment. So not every seat's full. There might be 20 people around that table. You don't all sit together.
Yeah, you still sit.
You all sit in your seat.
Yeah.
Because it's yours. That's my seat.
Yeah.
End of. And that's what it is. It's that sort of that familiarity, and it's strange because sometimes there'll be 5 seats apart from each other, and you'll still be having a conversation, but you won't go and sit because that's someone else's seat. And it's the same when you get on the bus. It's like, that's my seat on the bus. That's that's my position in the changing room. That's where I go, and that's just how it is. I mean, it's quite strange.
Yeah, I think with England, it's been used as a bit of an excuse for us
Definitely.
not to do.
I think
better. I mean, look at Barcelona, Real Madrid players when they're playing in Clásicos. Never did Spain any harm, did it?
No.
So,
no, and I think you're right. I think it is. I think you come together. Everyone wants to play for their country. Everyone wants to do well. And I think it has been used too easily as an excuse to say, "Oh, there were clicks. We didn't want to do this." No, just didn't perform.
yeah.
Let's be honest. When it came down to it, just didn't play well enough.
Yeah. I don't think nobody's on pitch thinking, well, I'm not going to do his running because he plays for Chelsea or he plays for Man United.
So we had Leeds and Man United. I'm thinking I'm going to do everything I possibly can to help Bex out.
Yeah.
And likewise, doesn't matter. Ashley Cole and when I've got me sads off, I don't care now. He's my teammate. I'm going to do everything possible, no matter what. And if there's a fight in the tunnel afterwards, we're all in it because this is my team now.
Yeah.
This is what I'm part of. And when we go away, start next season, we face each other. I'm going to try and knock them apart. It's just, I think you're right. I think it's often used as an excuse, and I don't think it should be, because I never felt it was a huge problem.
No.
Brilliant. So just going back to Leeds, obviously at this point.
Sorry, mate.
Oh,
from there.
I don't know. We're back on.
Don't know what happened there. But yeah, so going back to Leeds, obviously it all starts.
Definitely a Leeds fan, isn't
he? All starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
At what point did the players sort of know that something was going drastically wrong? And
I think when Woody got sold to Newcastle, that was the first we sort of really heard of it. We got called into a meeting at Ellen Road, I think just before we were going to travel to a game. And I think it was announced that Woody's gone. What do you mean Woody's gone? Woody's gone where? Newcastle. Oh, what? Oh, hang on a minute. Well, the club needed to sell him £9 million. Woody was worth a lot more than that. I mean, I'd been bought for £4.5 million a couple of seasons before that. Woody was 10 times the player I was at the time. So that was a bargain for Newcastle at the time. But obviously Woody had gone, and then obviously all the rumours started to mount up that the club was struggling. We'd failed to qualify for the Champions League. They gambled on that was going to happen. I think there were lots of issues as well at the time. I think there was lots of rumours that we were going to build a new stadium just down by the M1
M1 link.
Yeah, by the link road.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola were going to be one of the big sponsors. And then, of course, the court case, I think that put Coca-Cola off. They're sort of like, oh, maybe not sure this is a good idea to get involved with the club at this time. And so that didn't happen. We missed out on Champions League. And then it slowly just sort of disintegrated, slowly fell apart. And people say, why? So we had, most teams had 14, 15 first team players on good money and money that was relative to what, other clubs were earning at the time. So, it was where you were supposed to be. No one was earning more than United players or more than the Arsenal players. We were always just under that because everyone knew what the wage structures were. But we had 25 of those players and not 14. And that was the problem. We had 2 internationals for every position. And that was not sustainable for where we were at the time. When you look at the bench that we had sometimes, it was sensational. We had Robbie Keane couldn't even win the Champions League. That we'd bought Robbie Fowler. Huckabee, Bridges. They were our 4 backup strikers. We had Smith and Viduka. We had 6 strikers.
That's mad, isn't it?
That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Now Leeds have got Bamford. That's it.
Yeah.
So that was why we had too many players on too much money. The gamble didn't pay off. Obviously, we missed out on Champions League, having been top of the league at New Year, and then it slowly just disintegrated and started to crumble.
I mean, I presume as players, obviously, when everything's going well, and I suppose you don't ever really think about that. But were it ever in conversations thinking there's something not right here, or it's
only when it got really bad, and we started to go into sort of administration, and there was lots of meetings where the club wanted a lot of the lads to defer their money and give up some of their money, and a lot of that was senior players that were out of contract. So it was like, well, give up 30% of your wages till the end of the season, and then we'll sort it out after that. And this was, sort of like Jason Wilcox, Nigel Martin, David Batty, that had been great servants to the football club.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, hang on a minute. If we give up 30% of our money and then we're gone at the end of the season, how are we going to get this money back? Because, we'll probably never get it. So the lads got together and said, no, that's not right. You can't be doing that. It's not fair on these players. And we stood firm and said, no, we're all in this together. We can't be doing that because we don't trust the club at the time that they're going to look after those players once they've left the football club, because you've got no real recourse. Once you're no longer at the club, it's like, well, you owe me money. Well, so what? They owed everybody money at the time. So the players got together, lots of meetings, and went, no, I'm not doing it, because the people running the club at the time, we didn't trust to be honest and do the right thing, and I think we were proved right in the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's that sort of thing, like, not just Leeds, but when the fans start saying, oh, they're selfish and they're doing this and they're on this so much money, but at the end of the day, like you said before, it's a short career. You've got to start looking after yourselves.
It's difficult to explain, So at that time, you've got, you've signed a 4-year deal. So you sign your 4-year deal, it's guaranteed. And the only contract in the world that's guaranteed, whether you're injured, whether you play or whether you don't, that's your basic made. You're going to get that. So you make plans off the back of that. You make investments. Most people have a mortgage for 25 years. As a footballer, I had a mortgage for 5 years. So I've got to pay my house off in that time.
Yeah.
If I don't, my house gets taken off me.
Yeah.
And they go, people go, oh yeah, but it's a big house. Well, that's irrelevant.
It's all relative, isn't it?
Of course it is. It's like you make plans for that money, and you say, okay, this is my income. And in the end, I retired at 31, 32, retired early because of injury. That could have happened at any point. So you think, well, I've got to make the most of this situation. So if you make plans for 4 years' money, and then someone says, well, actually, you're only going to get 3, you're in trouble. And I say to everyday people, not everyday people, that's wrong, but people that work in sort of, in ordinary jobs, would you work for 4 years but only get paid for 3?
Yeah.
Just because you like the company? No chance.
No,
I totally agree with you.
No one in their right mind. But we all get emotionally connected with football, and it all becomes about loving the football club and, oh, you should do it because it's football, and we would do. A lot of fans, I would play for nothing. You wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. It's a job, isn't it? End of the day.
Well, because let's just say I'm earning 20 grand a week, and you two guys come in and you're playing for nothing, and all of a sudden you hang on a minute. I'm doing more than him, and he's getting paid. Why shouldn't I be earning that?
Yeah.
I guarantee you last about a week being happy just playing before you suddenly go, hang on a minute, I want the same money that he's getting because I'm doing more than him. And that's. But again, I would say fans and football, fans are the lifeblood of football. We know that. Football is religion. It's life and death to fans. It's absolutely. you can change pretty much everything in life. You know, you can change religion, you can change your wife, you can change whatever, you can change your name, but no one ever changes their football club. You know, it's bizarre, isn't it? That's you know, that's it. That's your football club, no matter who you support. And I think sometimes, you know, that's why fans sometimes get, and rightly so, over emotional and overly connected to their clubs and don't always look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I'll finally get away from Leeds. So you've, I think you went out on loan towards the end. The only reason I wanted to get this in was, well, you've played quite a lot at Middlesbrough, but it was, I think, the first time apart from the playoffs, first time you'd actually won like a major trophy.
The only time I've won a trophy.
So, well, yeah, and obviously,
and it's not a very big one. It's about that big. It's about the size of a 10p piece. It's not very big. Yeah, no, we won the Carling Cup. Obviously, we beat Bolton in the final, which was a great day out. Fabulous to win something. Now, okay, it might only be the League Cup, you know, but it's still, those days don't come along very often. And it was obviously great to win that. Great team that we had. You know, great bunch of lads. Yeah. We enjoyed it. Had one of the worst hangovers ever after that. Well, not directly after. We'd won it must have won it on the Sunday. We played Birmingham on the Wednesday, I think. I think that's where there'll be pictures on the internet where I grabbed Robbie Savage by the throat.
Your Instagram picture as well.
Yeah, that's the one. And then we missed. We didn't. There must have been FA Cup or something. We didn't have a game on the Saturday. Weren't playing until the following Tuesday, and I was suspended for that. And we had a big party in Middlesbrough on the Saturday night. Let me hair down. Oh, dearie me. Sunday morning, we had an open top bus ride around Stockton and Middlesbrough and all the rest of it. It's the first time in my life I've almost phoned in sick, being hungover. In fact, I've never done it, but I was so sorely tempted to do it. Sat on that bus for about 3 hours, freezing cold, green as you like. I think I had to stop the taxi about 3 times on the way home. I was in a bad way. But
private parties, or were it tall trees in Middlesbrough?
It wasn't tall trees, but it was just the players. It was just players and players' wives, and you know, people from the football club.
Still have rotating dance floor?
Oh, I can't remember. I've no idea. I've absolutely no idea.
Nice way to win a final as well. I think 2-0 up in the first 10 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, Bolo's ending with a strange penalty where he had the double touch.
Yeah, he slipped, didn't
he? Yeah, and obviously got away with that. And then Schwartzy decided to chuck one in to make it interesting. But yeah, no, it was interesting. At the end of that, I'd made a decision beforehand that if we won it, I was going to try and savour it and take it in. So after we'd won it, obviously, first 2 or 3 minutes of celebration. And then I just went and sat on the advertising hoardings for a couple of minutes, just on my own, just to try and sort of savour the atmosphere and take it all in. Because I think I'd realised at that stage in my career that these moments don't come along very often. You know, when you're playing for England and playing in the Champions League, you think it's going to carry on forever. You know, you think this is the normal. And suddenly, very, very quickly, you realise it's not. You know, it's whipped away from you. So, yeah, I tried to enjoy that as much as I possibly could. But remember driving home. We flew back up from Cardiff up to Teesside, driving back with Gareth, and sort of looked at each other and went, "Oh, what are you going to do tonight? Are you going to celebrate? Cup of tea, slice of cake, wait for the wife and kids to come home." Because we had a game on the Tuesday. And that's how it is. You know, these, obviously we had wild celebrations later on in the week, but that's how football is sometimes. You know, those moments of joy, of adulation are very, very short lived because there's always another game coming.
What happened with that incident with Savage?
He tried to do me. I think he tried to do me sort of about, it was a bouncing ball and he tried to 2-foot me about waist high.
Sure.
And I saw it coming and I got out of the way. And of course I took complete exception to it. So I just went over to him and sort of grabbed him by the throat and, you know, picked it. Basically, if you look at the picture properly, it's probably online somewhere properly. I actually lift him off the floor. I got booked for that. Don't know why.
Only a booking.
Yeah, I was livid because it was. I mean, he proper tried to do me. If I hadn't seen him, he would have caught me probably across the top of the thigh.
Do you ever still bump into him these days with punditry and stuff, or not really?
Well, yeah, he signed for Derby the week after I did.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And all the lads were panicking that it was going to go off. That was about 4 years later. Hadn't really seen him since. Hadn't played against him since or anything like that. So I'd signed for Derby, and then Sav was going to sign, and all the lads are going. Obviously, the press had mentioned it and everything else, and all the lads go, "Oh my god, it's going to kick off! It's going to kick off! His first tackling training is going to be, oh my god, this could be a nightmare." So I'm thinking, right, okay, what do I do? What do I do? So I went and got that picture printed off, signed it, but to Robbie, "Don't worry, I love you loads, Danny," and put it on his locker. So the first day, and to be fair, he left it there the whole time I was there. You know, and it just broke the ice, I think, because again, you suddenly go from, you know, I hated him. You know, I literally would have ripped his head off. Suddenly, he's my teammate. So you know, you have to bury that hatchet pretty quickly, not on his back, not on his head, and get on with it. Because suddenly, you know, you're now on the same team.
Yeah,
you know, and that's what I say. You know, that's why, you know, people say about these clicks affected things. They don't, because whether you like somebody or not, Sav would do everything to win a game. He was a pest. He was horrible. He was annoying. I was probably the same. But we both had the same agenda, was to win that game for our club, for our team. And so whether you like him or not, it's irrelevant, because, you know, as long as he's doing everything possible to win that game, then he's on my side. Simple as that. You know, I'm not going to go out for dinner with him. I'm not going to go out and, you know, socialise with him. But in that training group, in that 90 minutes, we are one. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So just finishing off at Man City. Was it Stuart Pearce who took you there?
Keegan took me there.
Sorry, yeah, Keegan was first.
Yeah, didn't really. I mean, went okay. First season was decent under Keegan. I think we finished 8th or 9th. Second season had a route. Keegan was a lovely fella, but discipline was horrific. Lads would turn up late. He wasn't bothered. Tactics we didn't really bother about. You know, we never did set pieces. We never did anything. Just go and play, lads. You're all internationals. Just go and play. And that used to drive me insane. I liked discipline. I liked structure. I liked to plan. Coaching, really. You know, he was just play. You know, 5-a-sides, crossing, finish, and all that type of thing. And then he left, and then Piercy took over, and we had 1 or 2 issues with different things. And I got injured, broke my leg against Arsenal. Bergkamp left his foot in. I went to clear it up the line. He just left his foot there, and I kicked the bottom of his foot. And then I missed the rest of that season. Really missed the rest of, and then came back. Went out on loan for a bit. Went to Hull. Got a stress fracture just above it, so I only played 10 games at Hull. Missed the rest of that season, and then came back and Sven was there. So I mean, I think in 5 years I only played 49 games at City.
Right.
And most of those within the first season up to November. I never played after. So the first 18 months, really. Well, first 14, 15 months, I played all those games. Never played after that.
So did you just about finish there just as all money were coming in, as in? Like,
2009 I retired.
Sven was the kind of start of all that, I think, wasn't he, or around that time?
So Mark Hughes, Mark Hughes obviously came in, and when they bought Robinho.
Yeah.
I was injured at the time. And then Mancini came in, Sven came in, Mancini came in. You know, they all started coming through the door. But I was just in the treatment room, trying to get fit. And obviously that never happened. Did my knee when I was on loan at Derby after 2 games. Came off against Portsmouth. I'd never come off injured before. I had some bad injuries, but never actually came off injured. Been dragged off a few times for being crap, but never come off, with an injury. And then never played again, never kicked a ball again. And that was that.
How hard was that decision? Did you have to make it, or?
No, fortunately, I didn't. I got to a point after about 18 months where I started to think, is this in my head? I had 2 surgeries. First surgery, I was in a straight leg brace for 3 months. So I couldn't do anything. Just had to stay at home for 3 months, couldn't drive, couldn't go anywhere, didn't leave the house really.
Yeah.
And then it sort of slowly got back. I'd been in the States for quite a bit, trying to get fit, trying different things. And after about 18 months, started to think, this is in my head now. I've had pain in my knee for so long that I think I'm just waking up and imagining pain's there, and I'm expecting it.
Yeah.
So it's just there. So when I saw the physios, and he went, "Oh, okay." He said, "I know you, Dan." It says, "It's not in your head." I said, "It is. I think it might be in my head. Might be in your head." No, it's not. So we had a bit of a row about that. So we went, "Come on, we're going to do some testing." So we went to this special place, did some testing, and it wasn't in my head. The graph of my left leg was clearly sort of an upward, and the right leg was like that. There was no power. It was catching and hitting the nerve and all sorts. It wasn't right. But at that stage, I had to sort of getting to the point where I was going to have to make a decision about whether I was going to finish and sort of take an insurance payout, or whether I was going to, if I played 1 minute of a reserve team game, that was it. Insurance policy, null and void, gone.
Right.
And it was this real difficult dilemma at the time. I was like, I'm desperate to play again. I want to play football. But I've got an insurance policy that looks after me for another year and gets me through the year after. And it's like, and I was like, oh, it's 1 minute of a reserve team game. How can I make a decision off the back of that? That's not really fair, 'cause I could play that 1 minute and break down.
Yeah.
So luckily, I never really got to sort of that stage. Towards the end of the season, I went, right, okay, we're nearly there, but something's not right. I went around the world. I went with a doctor, went back to the States where I spent sort of 6 months on and off, saw 4 or 5 surgeons in the States. They all went, forget it. You've been at 18 months. You're looking at another operation, which is at least another 18 months. By the time you recover from that, you're going to be 34, been out of the game for nearly over 3 years. That on trial, it's like, do you really want that? And there was one guy in Chicago that thought he could save it, but again, it was like the rehab was like 2 years.
Yeah.
And he wanted to slice my shin bone, move it, pin it. I went, whoa, no.
No,
I said, you lost me at slice the shin bone. I went, that's not happening. Went to Germany, went to see Muller Wolfhard, who, is the guru of all things injecting people, and, done Mark Lowen, Shearer, Paula Radcliffe, Usain Bolt, everybody since. Even he went,
no,
not really happening. And then I went to 2 guys in Sweden, Lars Peterson and Matt Brittberg, and they were doing cloning almost. They were growing cartilage outside the body, because cartilage doesn't grow, can't reproduce itself. But they sort of Dolly the sheep cloning technology. They managed to grow this cartilage outside in a lab. The issue was then putting it back into the body and attaching it still. And they were sort of at the forefront of this technology. Solskjaer had been there. I think Jamie Redknapp had been there to see these guys as well. And they went, look, we can't lie to you. If our operation is 100% successful, you're still not going to play again.
Oh, really?
So if I was you, go away, do another year's rehab, and then you'll be able to run again eventually. I didn't run for 2 years. You'll be able to run, you'll be able to kick a ball out with your kids and that type of thing. But you are not going to play football, even if our operation is 100% successful.
Right.
And they went, we're advising you not to have it. And I think at the time that operation was about 50 grand. And I went, these guys have just chucked 50 grand away on a moral decision, an ethical decision.
Yeah.
And I think that was the closing factor for me. It's like, they've clearly just gone, no, they're not interested in money.
No.
They were clearly interested in telling me the truth, and that was my final decision. And so it wasn't my decision to make, really, and that's the only good thing that came out of it. I didn't have to make that decision.
Yeah.
Because that was what I was starting to struggle with.
Yeah, it must be so hard, yeah. So
I think either you get told you're crap and you no longer want it anywhere, or you just get old and can't do it anymore.
yeah.
I was only 31 at the time, and you're thinking, oh, I've still got 4 years left in me. The rest of the body, I've got no knee, but the rest of the body's all right. What do I do? But yeah, so for someone else to say that's it, then I think that was a blessing, really.
So when that time comes and you've accepted it one way or another, did you always know you were going down the punditry route, or did you ever consider coaching? Or?
No, coaching. I did my badges when I was injured, just so I could say I'd done them. Had no real interest in coaching full time. Didn't want to coach people like me. Thought, can I deal with 25 of me on a daily basis? No chance, not happening. Bearing in mind, our dressing room at Man City was me, Thatcher, Richard Dunn, Fowler, McManaman, Dickoff, David James. It's like, no, you know what? Give that a miss.
You don't need it, yeah.
So, and I had 4 young kids. So I sort of said, I want to give time back to them. Coaching was 24/7.
Yeah.
Going right back. You had to work a lot harder than you were as a player for no reward at the time. Start at the very, very bottom. So fell into the media world, really. Done bits and pieces with 5 Live and John Murray and Ian Dennis, who were brilliant. And still speak to them now. Still good friends with them. Yeah, sort of fell into the media, really, and just sort of got into it that way. Wasn't really bothered in the first year. Didn't really do anything. Tried to have a year out and do absolutely nothing, and soon realised that was quite difficult because I felt guilty. I'd get offered a job at the weekend, and someone would go, "Oh, do you want to go away at the weekend and go and cover a game?" Nah, I need to be at home. Because suddenly it was my choice. Whereas I said in the World Cup, I was incredibly selfish, but that was my job and that was my purpose. Now I had this choice to make, and I didn't need the work, didn't need the money. So suddenly I felt really bad that actually I shouldn't be going away because I should be with the kids. I should be at home, doing that type of thing. And of course, I was only 32, 33 at the time. But after a year, I sort of got my head around it and went, no, you need to have a purpose in life, because if not, you're going to go insane, or more insane than I already was. So then sort of started doing media more on a regular basis and took it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah. Are you enjoying that side of it then, yeah?
Yeah, I've always said to people, unfortunately, I have a life outside of football. I've had other business interests since I was 20 and looked after all those. So I've always had other stuff to do. And I've obviously, then 4 kids have kept me busy. Not that they're kids anymore. The youngest is, coming up for 16. Yeah. So, they've always kept me busy. So I've had other interests outside of footy. But media's it's like a busman's holiday. It means I can stay involved in the game. I've had some unbelievable experiences. I've travelled the world off the back of it. And it's like, yes, you do have to work at it, and you have to put the effort in and all that type of thing. But it's good fun. And I've got to that stage now where unfortunately, I pick and choose to 2 or 3 days a week. And I enjoy it. The moment I stop enjoying it, the moment I stop doing it. And that's what I always say to people. I do it because I enjoy it. And I'm very, very fortunate in that way. When I've done Champions League finals, I've done World Cup finals, and all those types of things. Like, not many fans get to do that type of thing. Yeah. So to do it from some of the best seats in the house, because the media seats are always great. Yeah. I'm very, very, very fortunate to have done a lot of
that. So if you do get bored of this, there's no chance of following up your on MasterChef or anything like that.
No, I still do plenty of cooking. Still do bits and pieces. I do a fair bit of that for charity. Got some good friends. Obviously, Phil Vickery, rugby player, won it the year before I did. Reminds me of every opportunity that he won it and I came second. Ewan Thomas, the runner, again, good friends with him. My eldest is in running. He did it as well. So we'll do charity things from time to time. So it'll be me and someone else come and cook in your house, whatever, for a big charity event, whatever. And we auction that off. And it's something different. It's a bit of fun. But no, I love food, love cooking. But no, running a restaurant is one of the hardest things on the planet. That's a passion, not a job.
Yeah.
Failing
that then, PGA Tour. I've seen you golf picking up speed recently.
Not quite yet. Trying to get down to single figures. Well, again, I think this suddenly now, we've only got one child that lives at home now. He's about to turn 16, so clearly wants nothing to do with me on the planet whatsoever. Lockdown's been brilliant because he's not come out of his room. He's quite happy with that. He's like, so yeah, I've had a bit more free time, so taking the golf a bit more seriously.
Must admit, I'm very
single figures.
Must admit, very jealous seeing all your posts.
It's the golf.
I've always wanted to play, and never had time.
It's the best and worst. You're like, I love golf, and then like 2 minutes later, I hate golf. I hate golf. I hate golf. I hate golf. I love golf again. All in the space of 5 minutes. It's the most rewarding and most frustrating sport on the planet when you're
hardest
average.
Sporting world for me. Hardest sporting world.
Do you think?
Because it should always be the same, because the ball, that you're not hitting a moving ball. So it's like, why 1 minute can I hit a great shot and the next minute I shank it and nearly kill someone? It's like,
yeah, it's frustrating.
Mad.
It's very frustrating.
I'll just have to live my golf career through you then on Instagram by the looks of it.
There you go, you see. Don't believe everything you see on Insta.
Yeah, how many takes?
Several hundred.
So, as we do with everyone, finish with your best flat back four ever played with.
Yeah, I think played with. I'll leave myself out of it for obvious reasons. I think I'd have to go with Gary Kelly. Would be at right back.
Yeah. Wow.
Centre half, I have to go with Rio. And then the other centre halves is really difficult, to be honest, because then you start to dip into the England squad, and then you go. Woody was amazing. Lucas Radebe was amazing. Sol Campbell was fantastic. I guess at the time, Woody, in terms of ability, it has to be Woody.
I say you've not even mentioned your mate there, Gareth.
Gareth was all right. He got 50 odd caps for England, captained a few clubs, won a few trophies. But that's the thing, sort of when you dip into the international sort of scene. Rio was sensational. We know what went on to career that he obviously had. Woody at the time was unbelievable. It just didn't quite happen for him. But in terms of ability and playing wise, he was sensational. And then left back Ashley Cole, who I still think after that, that I think was probably one of the best left backs in the world. But yes, you go Gary Kelly, Rio Ferdinand, Johnny Woodgate, and Ashley Cole.
Solid, very solid.
Probably
not bad. Not bad, is it?
Probably one of the best we've had.
Yeah,
if not the best we've had actually. But you want to throw a quick one in for against?
I think against you got to go Cafu at right back, without a shadow of a doubt.
I think we're going to get top tier.
Well, Cafu at right back, centre half. I'm going to put Jaap Stam in.
Nice.
And again, I think Jaap Stam three Premier Leagues in a row and a Champions League, and then left. Unbelievable. Job done. Was immense. Still going to have Ashley Cole in at left back. So really? Ash was still in there. And the other centre half, I think we have to stick Paolo Maldini in there.
Yeah, why not?
Why not, yeah.
Not bad, is it? So Cafu, Jaap Stam, Maldini, and Ashley Cole.
Superb.
Right. Well, I think that's a pretty good back four to end on.
Good place to end is that.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for your time, Danny.